Yo,
Yeah, I'm actually talking to Dave right now.
what's good, bro?
Emery says hello, Dave.
Oh, hey, Emery. How's everything?
Yeah, it's going. He did say hello back, Emery. She said thank you.
I'm feeling that background, bro. Where you at?
On Corson Avenue, whatever. Yeah, this is naturally the back. This is the wall. This is the actual wall.
That's a clean background. I like that.
Yeah, look at you floating.
I wanted to make like a bingo board for people to circle how they feel. So I
Hmm.
so I
Yeah,
put a bunch of stuff out there.
yeah. You got to send me a clean version of it too.
I got you. I got you.
Yeah.
So we're doing a stay at home Type 88 Living Hope Dealer edition with the one and only Jatik Long.
Hey.
It's been a minute, man, since I had you on the show. It's probably been over a year or so.
Yeah, it's been over a year. Last time I was on Type 88, it was during the Smack Harbor show. It was for my birthday. I remember that day. Yeah,
Uh,
It was April 4th, and I did. I That's when I still had the was still hosting and doing the open mics at Hub 17.
yeah, yeah.
Came over, like I went to the open mic like right after.
That was a fun night, man.
Word.
So, how you been with things are a little bit different.
Yeah, what a time to be alive, right? I've been good for the most part, just being and doing my best to be in a state of gratitude and be present to be present and be grateful for the simple fact that I have my health, my family members, and a lot of my family members and a lot of my friends, they have their health, and I'm still able to get some work done from home, and I'm grateful for that. And that that's really how I've been, and like I've been doing like a lot of like inner work for the most part because I've been going through a lot of transitions in general. So journaling a lot, using my time in that way, and I've been picking up. I read one book. I just picked up another book, and just coming back to myself, using this time to really just not just like work on things, but also recharge because sometimes we don't realize how we're from New York, so it's like on, and then like when you have a moment where you could barely go anywhere, where you're mostly by yourself,
Yep.
you start feeling things a little bit differently and start looking at things a little bit differently. So that's kind of where I've
It's definitely a time to reflect. Definitely a time to charge because it's true.
been.
I've been thinking. I've been home so much. I'm like, I'm actually able to do something for an hour in a row,
Mm-hmm.
and the day to day hustle. You have a 2 hour gig, but it takes you 4 hours because you got to get there, you got to prepare, you got to be a half hour early, you stay a half hour later. So
Mm-hmm.
like the day to day hustle things that I normally have, it even though they're 2 hours or 3 hours at a school, it's like a 4 or 5 hour day. By the time you get home, you try to jump into the next thing, and then you realize, oh wow, it's already 6 o'clock, and you're eating dinner, and that's that New York hustle. There's no way to, if you pick this life, you're in this life. But
I mean, some
it's
people are born here. I don't know.
yeah,
I think
exactly.
a lot of people just inherit it. It is just like compared to like some cats that just moved here. How have you been handling everything? How are you doing?
It's definitely been it's been some highs, some lows. I think the lows has just kind of been dealing with change, and I'm not always the best with change.
Mm,
Even though I'm a very positive, I'm known as
yeah.
being very positive. I try to, I try to create through tough times, and
Hmm.
I try to say things that motivate me, or for me, I've been just trying to stay fueled.
Yeah.
It's through reading things that inspire me. I'm reading a couple of books now, or
Nice.
if it's like a YouTube or a podcast. I always say that, the same way we eat and we fill our bellies, we got to fill our minds. We got to fill our
Most
spirits.
definitely.
So
Mhm.
I try to always start my day with a devotional reading, with a verse in the Bible.
Mhm.
I have another book that I read by Bob Goff, Love Does. It's like there's like 30 little stories in it. Takes me about 5 minutes each, 10 minutes each. But kind of starting with that hope,
Mhm.
just like a little drop of hope, I feel spreads quick, and it could be contagious in its own way. We're
Yeah.
talking about all these things being contagious and spreading. I feel like we got to spread hope during this time, and I think it's tricky though when you may not have it yourself. So it's like
Mm.
spread hope, spread love, but then it's like if you don't have it, where do you get it? And
Mm.
I've been just trying to grasp it, and I do have it. I'm blessed to be, I live with my girl, and this is a very peaceful place. And we haven't had to go anywhere. She's very good with preparing meals and being on point and taking care of the home like that. So that's been
Mhm.
a major help for me. And having that support has been key. And just trying to, that little bit of hope that I get from certain things
Mhm.
has been contagious in its own way. So I've just been
Yeah.
trying to dip into that as much as I can. And there's moments where I'm like, oh man, I'm making 80% less money. I got to pay this bill. I got to pay this legal thing.
Yeah.
And that doesn't stop. But it's forced a lot of innovation. Like we
Yeah.
have new projects coming out. We got new merch dropping by the day. I did some like little ebook things. So it's the pain or like the change for me. Sometimes I realize it's so key to to
Mhm.
turn into that next chapter.
Yeah. Well, with it, one of the biggest things too, and I think I find myself like really thinking about too, is that like just grateful that like because like regardless of what, we're still in a pandemic. That's the craziest part about everything that's going on is that like we we live in New York. It would be totally different if we lived in like, Wisconsin or like, some other place. But we live in one of the epicenters. Like right now, New York is past like Italy. It's been past China for the amount of like how many people are like, dying and affected. So it's just like I feel like if you're living in New York right now, you have an interesting juxtaposition to this whole situation, and especially if you're like a business owner, and like that's one of the like I mean, I ask you a question when it comes down to it. It's just like how like the fact that you're talking about like making new merch and like being doing your best to adapt with it. What do you think as a business owner would be the best way to weather this storm? Because at the end of this, we are already losing businesses from like from the closure of March, and from the looks of it, it looks like it's going to be another not just April, but probably May as well for right now. So like, what do you think businesses and individuals can do to adapt with this changing landscape, but also make sure that they stay afloat?
Yeah. So every business is so different.
Mm-hmm.
I've turned on New York One, and I've seen like there's a laundromat business, and
Yeah.
they have to do something different. They have to make sure people stand this much apart. There can only be 3 people. They can't use the
Well,
drying machine.
so let me add on to that non-essential businesses, because non-essential businesses like like the deli's good. Poppy's gonna be straight. Like the deli down
Yeah.
the block, like the liquor store. like, laundromat places that have to be open. Um, they may be taking a little bit of a hit, but if you're like, like say if you're a hardware store, a hardware store is like, is not open right now. A place that sells like, like apparel is not open right now. Like I just read today that Ricky's, like, the store in the city, they are closed. Like that business
Wow.
is gone. So it's like, what do you like for like that's kind of where I meant that question for, like, for like the businesses that aren't open right now.
Yeah, so for non-essential, I think it's important to, of course, as a public brand and a company, that you have responsibilities. You know,
Mm,
you to serve people, whatever that is that you serve them. So I feel like it's important now to really, to look within and be like, we're taking this hit,
yeah,
and really be in tune, and that stinks for a lot of people. It's like a big smack in the face. But
mm,
to maybe find that sprinkle of hope to actually start that new contagiousness of spreading the hope, I would say, how do you want your business to be remembered in a time like this?
mm,
And
mm,
it's so weird. I feel like the minute you start giving is it's not an instant thing. It's not like, okay, I'm going to start giving and then I'm going to start receiving. Let me
yeah,
do this because it's a proven strategy. It's you can't think of it like that, but it's like, okay, what could I do to play a part now?
yeah,
Maybe you have extra inventory, and then you're like, you know what? It's going to be out of style in 2 months. We're going to just probably burn it or put it
mm,
somewhere else, or we're going to throw it out. How do we give this away? How do we leave positive dents in the world right now? And we all have different businesses, but I feel like ask yourself the question: how do you want to be remembered during this time?
mm,
How do you want your company be remembered? And and really just think about what you could do with the probably the less resource you have, because a lot of us is like, because I've even been on times where I'm like, damn, like, look, I need stuff now. I need
yeah,
stuff now. And I remember, like, I was feeling that really hard, and then I was like, you know what? If I'm feeling this, but I got a roof over my head, I got a little bit of rainy day.
mm-hmm,
I'm kind of okay. I'm good. If I actually think about it, I'm like, you know what? Let me find a way to bless someone else. And I just
yeah,
went on Insta. I did kind of like this thing where I was like, yo, what's your Cash App thing? And people sent it in, and then I sent them some cash. And it wasn't a lot, but I think sprinkling a little bit of hope during that time, people were like, wow, it wasn't a lot, man, but it helped me a lot in this moment,
mm,
or it gave me, I'm going to give it now to someone else. And I think just ask yourself, like, what can we do during this time, even though, of course, we need resources.
mm-hmm,
Um, Luckily, and I would say spend the same amount of time you would do on a work day, put into researching the available funds that you may qualify for, because a lot of businesses they are getting support during this time, but no one's gonna knock on your door like in life. No one's gonna be like, hey,
yeah,
Ja, you want to go perform at Madison Square Garden? You got to
yeah.
knock the door down. And I
I
would
think one
say,
of the only, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to say one of the only thing when it comes to resources right now is that, again, like we live in an epicenter. Like, when it comes down to like unemployment and just like how many unemployment in these different grants, the grants are already hard to get because it's competition, but now you have a lot of people out of desperation that are filling out for these loans and whatnot. And yeah, I just wanted to add that onto it too, because it's just like it's it's wild. Like,
yeah,
again, we live in New York. It might be totally different for like, I don't know, like it depending on I think like that's such a it's a broad question. So it's just like depending on your industry, there's a way to like navigate through it, because like if you're like, I'll say like, think about like people, like if somebody throws like, event producer, one of the things I'm transitioning on right now is online events, but it's also just like, it's totally, that's not everything could be put into like, on Zoom or like, so I think it's like navigating this too, like
Yeah,
figuring out a way to really navigate it.
yeah. I always tell everyone, if you're not spending time actually working,
Hmm.
spend time either practicing, spend time learning that craft or industry, the same way you would spend 8 to 10 hours, lifting boxes. If you're not able to
Yeah,
do that right now, if you're not able to, um, if you're not able to go to the deli, or where the deli may be open, but if you're not able to go to
yeah,
a certain, whatever it is, spend time looking into resources, study, and
yeah,
of course we all will probably be combating like, damn, well, I'm bored, oh, this stinks, and then it's like you kind of have to climb a little bit of a mountain to jump
no,
in the river. So like, expect that, but be like, okay, once that I've climbed this mountain of maybe uh, doubt or
yeah,
pain or struggle, I at our home we always say like break the pattern. So like if you're waking up and you're feeling depressed every day
yeah,
because you have to work right away,
hmm,
do something that changes that. So like if you're waking up at 8:30 and you got to be somewhere at 9 and you don't have any time because it takes you 20
hmm,
minutes to walk there, break that pattern of what you're doing and see it. Be like, you know what? All right, I only have 30 minutes. I'm stressed. I'm not even eating breakfast. Wake up an
hmm,
hour early. Spend 10 minutes, do something that you could do for 10 minutes, even if it's just listening to Nas or someone
yeah,
that you really like, or so, or Katy Perry or whatever it is,
hmm.
because maybe her music makes you feel happy.
But the only thing is that in a time like this, so people have vices that sometimes aren't always. People have ways of like escaping and not facing their issues. Like, say something like, the doubt or the depression. Like people have, or like, having that motivation. Sometimes what gets people through it isn't like, the like say like the bud or anything like that. Sometimes it's literally like the social interaction. And I think one of the most real things too right now that we got to remember is that like, because this is for me personally, it's like what I've been seeing, like, with myself, and just like, and like I've been seeing a lot of posts on Instagram, which just like one of the big posts that I've been seeing is that like, if you don't come out of this learning a new skill, you didn't lack time, you lack discipline. And I think that that's really one, that line is like, it's such a thin line right now, because like with it, as much as we do have this time to ourselves, and I'm not saying live in fear at all, not at all. Definitely live in hope, and like, and have positivity. I think we also have to really understand where people are at, because this is affecting everybody differently. Like there are some people like, like one of the things that I saw today, like, this dude that I didn't know him personally, but this barber named Red. I always knew him from around the way. He
Yeah,
passed
no,
away from it. And then like,
really.
so it's like it's one of like, we live in such an uncertain time. Like it's sunny outside right now. Like people are in the hospital. So it's just like where I was going with it was that like also like, I feel as though like that doubt, like in that those feelings that might be hard for people to get through right now, it's even more intensified, especially if you're like, quarantine, like dependent on your quarantine situation. If you're quarantined by yourself, if you're quarantined in a house where you feel comfortable, if you're quarantined in a house where you don't feel comfortable, if you're quarantined with your family, if you're quarantined with roommates, if you're quarantined with an abuse, like, there's all these different dynamics, and
Yeah,
I think sometimes I think more than ever, one of the biggest types of work that we have to really realize right now is that like, because like when people have been asking me, it's like, yo, what have you been up to? It's like, I don't know, I've just been working on myself. As cheesy as that sounds, sometimes that's the work that gets neglected because like I'm reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? And I read I just finished. I want to go back to it. The Seven Spiritual Laws of Success. You would really like that book. Like like you really think you got to read it.
It's a good book.
You think this, oh, it's fire. So you read it, right?
I've I've indulged in a lot of the content,
Uh
so I'm
huh.
aware of
Um,
of,
got,
of it.
got you. So like one of the big things that like that it was like it basically in both like it mirrors it in both of them. It's just like you only manifest what is within. Your internal will like put out your external, and so like if you're not, and sometimes like right now there's some people that are really using this as an opportunity to really like just examine their life. You know how like some of the conversations we've had in the past, some people will use this opportunity with everything going on to really get over that mountain, beat that doubt, and like to really look inside like, all right, what is it I want to do? Where is it? How have I been showing up? Where can I improve? Some people will not, and that's okay too, because but it's very right now, even if they don't like acknowledge it, we're all with ourselves. It's coming up. It's an awareness. Even people like so. It's just like with it. I feel as though one and like going back to what I was gonna say in my original point was that as much as the grind is like creating the external world, I feel is like what people definitely should be focused on working on too, that internal work of actually understanding why you want to get over the mountain, why you want to beat the doubt. I think that this is also the opportunity to really, an opportunity at a time to really be with those emotions and sort through like, those different ways of being because like with it, um, I'm just speaking for me personally. I know I can't be the only person that's really looking at life and all these different perspectives. And like, you know,
Totally, man. Yeah, it's definitely it's a great time to do some cleanup. If it's cleaning up in your home, clean up on your desktop,
yeah,
your web history, and most importantly your personal life
yeah.
because
And practice gratitude because I see it in your background because gratitude is very important.
yeah, and I think you were pointing something out, like, what if you're quarantined with someone that brings you down, or
Mm-hmm.
like that you're maybe I've seen a lot of stuff that there's been less calls to like ACS and different things for like complaints to like family abuse at home because
Mm-hmm.
kids haven't really been able to tell their the teachers about this stuff. So like if someone's dealing with stuff like that, like it's it could really get really get crazy. So I think it's really important to like have these social interactions, even though we feel like we're disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
This we may not be able to shake each other's hand or hug each other, but use your phone in a good way. The
Yeah.
gram can make you feel disconnected because you see people maybe showing their best lives, but there's a whole other side to that. They had to get through a certain point that they may not be showing to get to that one photo that they're showing you. So like
Yeah.
if you're going through that moment where you can't show your best life, call someone that you trust, call someone that you love, and it doesn't even I think we're in this creative world, so a lot of the time when we get a call, a lot of the time it's for people to use our service.
Yeah.
But I feel like
Right. Mm-hmm.
we have a bigger service in this world than when someone just like, oh, could you draw this for me, oh, could you paint this for me, like, you know what I mean? And I think that's our gift that we have, but like it's important to be there for someone, just to be there for someone, and not be like, yo, could you do this for me? Can you make
Yeah,
this with me? Because that, I think that's a great thing too, though, giving people creative things to stay busy with.
yeah,
And like it occupies your mind, it gives you purpose. So I think having that is also special. But I think use this time to just call someone, just cuz, like, just
yeah.
literally call someone and be like, yo, how you doing? And
I, I
if you're
call my. Oh, I was just gonna say I do that all the time though. I call my friend every week for a check-in. My boy Justin, he lives by himself, so like be like, yo, what's good? Just checking in, making sure you good, that you like, So
yeah.
yeah, I just wanted to echo your sentiments, like connection. It's just because like things are digital doesn't mean we don't. Now is the time to use your phone as a phone instead of it's meant to. If we it started so we can be connected to people and so people can call us instead of like, hey, oh my God, I got this weird app that I can do this. It's like, nah, man, use the application known as love and connection and send it somewhere, you
Yeah.
know?
And that's how phones started. Phones just started as, just calling and just
Yeah,
being like, hey, what's up, grandma? Oh, hey,
yeah. So
what's
I
going
have a
on?
question for you that I wanted to ask. Like, what is something that has been opening up for you during this quarantine? Like, what are some things that you've learned about yourself, you know?
Yeah. I think with me, a constant reminder is always change. It's always like, I look back and I'm like, wow, that was a year ago. Like, so much has
Mm,
happened. And I think embracing change has kind of
mm,
been my constant theme, I would say, over the last several years. And it's something
mm,
that I always circle back with. And because me, I'm always someone that acts on an idea. So to me,
mm,
that's not really a new thing. It's kind of now, it's kind of the way I live and thrive in this world, and by creating and helping others create. So that's a common thing. But I would say really just embracing change
mm,
and just like accepting change.
mm.
And to me, those things have really helped me. And they still, it still takes me time, even doing this show, it's sometimes like the change that we're supposed to deal with to get to the next thing. And
Yeah.
like the way that even this show is happening, it's kind of the way I wanted to change the show, where I was kind of collecting content from different places and putting it together instead of it all happening live in one place.
Hmm.
I wanted to publish it live, people to tune in, but I wanted to kind of collect things the same way I collect things with events and stuff like that. So I would really just say embracing change,
Mm.
accepting change, and yeah, those two things. What about you?
First of all, that's huge and that's very real. So for me, this entire time has been January started off like a bunch of transitions. Like I basically got out of the relationship, like 2 year partnership, and like to go through this quarantine. Um, I'll say like, yeah, I got like the Corson fam around me, most definitely, but like we so like have our own spaces in the house for the most part, so I'm mostly with myself. So what's really been coming up for me, what I've been working with is forgiveness and forgiveness um, to to not only myself and like for like how I showed up in that relationship, but just it really like put a lot of things in perspective towards my life in general. So forgiveness and self um like in getting like rid of shame on different issues in which I felt in the past, not just my relationship but just in life, and for practicing forgiveness of people for people who have like have hurt me in my life, and like and but then also acknowledging and acknowledgement of like the different feelings in which I've had for myself and then for other things, and being real honest with myself, and acceptance, and like, accepting what is, accepting what I want, accepting what is going on in the world right now. Like, kind of like the serenity prayer, like, I forget how it goes, but entirely, but I know it's a part of like, you basically having the strength to change the things that you can and accepting the things that you cannot.
Mm,
Yeah, give me like, that's a whole mood for the simple fact that like, yeah, it's like, I don't want to harbor any ill will, and I realize like, just allow myself to like really be present, and like that's really, those are the things. So like forgiveness, acceptance, acknowledgement, and just feeling like, to kind of like, that's really what's been coming up with, for me, because like for the first time in a long time, I feel like I've been coming home. I'm coming home to myself in a sense, like because like the last couple of years have been very turbulent, and for the first time in a long time, one of the things like, yeah, I'm using this time efficiently to like work and build on things, but also using the time to like just kind of to be, because like all the things in which that like I've been working on for the last couple of years, it's just like, yeah, it's a grind, and I still want to accomplish those things, but we live in the epicenter of a pandemic. There's no way that I can actually literally create the things that I want to create and was working towards to create at the moment on some real shit, for the simple fact that only way that like, if you don't get like a remote job, you have a job where you're risking your life at the moment. Real, it's real. Like, like, and
truth.
I don't know how I feel about that, and I'm grateful that I have a job at this moment. Like, I'm grateful, but like, I'm talking about like in a career aspect, just because like, just in case my employers are listening, it's like, nah, I'm not saying anything wild. I'm just saying like career, career stuff. So it's just like, and just like, finding my own place and whatnot. So it's just like, that's all come to a halt. And for a time, I felt like I was living life on somebody else's timeline for a while, and like just being able to kind of be with myself, and just like, really like, because I've been journaling. I journal every night. Like that's one of the new practices. Like, so that's why when
It's
I say
great.
like, I think people got to really like, I think part of what that discipline aspect is also the discipline of inner work, because like, you can work out here, yeah, but some people don't work out here and work out here, so then it don't matter how much you make your external world, because if you're not going to be, if you're not fulfilled in the inside, because you're skipping over that part, like, yeah, mental health, my mental spiritual health, and, emotional health, that's not important, let me just go get the bag. And it's like, yeah, then you're gonna get the bag and be like, wow, I just really wanted to be a farmer all along. you know
Exactly. Yeah.
so it's just like, I've been just trying to do that, and through like journaling and whatnot, that's really what's been like, coming up, like, just like, forgiveness, acknowledgement, acceptance, and for myself, working on boundaries too, just like in self-respect, just like a whole lot of different, a lot of that inner work that like I've that's been present, but I ignored, because now I can't ignore it.
Fire, man.
Yeah.
It's it's always dope to I feel like we talk like we have one good talk every 2 months or so, but it carries me for a really long time.
Likewise,
So
my friend. I'm glad. I'm glad. Because if there's anything that like, I first of all, thank you for this. I appreciate it. It was really fun, and I appreciate
always,
like,
bro.
yeah, like I didn't really come up with too many questions. It was just like, I was like, yeah, let me just have a conversation. It's not like I don't know Dave.
Exactly.
But like with it, it's like, if there's anything that I would want to leave from this conversation, contribute to this conversation, that anything I wish, got across, like, and like, because there's some things you said that I definitely like resonate with, but also the people listening, the mental work, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual work of your being, of your internal, is just as important as your external. And now we have an opportunity to work from home
Mm,
and get it done. Like on some real real stuff. Work from home, work from home, work from home. Like, like literally, like, because even every little bit counts. Like, every little bit counts. Like, and these
yep.
days, like some of them are harder than others, but acknowledging it, like, because the difference between saying, oh, I'm really sad, but I'm gonna ignore it. Like, I don't know why I'm sad. The difference between that and saying, I'm sad because this happened. And when this
Mm,
happened, it made me feel this. And I told myself this about myself from that. And then what the next step of that is, I understand that that is a limiting belief and that does not determine my worth or my value to myself. You see how far you've come from point A by like just acknowledging and having awareness of like of those thoughts, or thinking different thought, like, of acknowledging like, hey, I told that about myself, but that's not true. Use We gotta use this time to do that work, man.
yep.
It's You only manifest what's within, man. You can't, like, and yeah, like, yeah, man.
That's
That's what's coming up for me. I feel like I'm about to be on my Rick Rubin shit. I'm about to quarantine with the ill beard. Like, yeah, man.
that's so real, man. Yeah. You, you know, it's you speak some amazing truths, and I feel like I always say the word journey, and I feel like
Mm-hmm.
we get to a destination, but we're still on a journey.
Oh,
We're
most
still
dead.
figuring things out. We're learning about ourselves. We change, the world changes around us. How do we adapt? How do we grow? And it's true. You say, oh, work from home, and I feel that they always say home is where the heart is. So really take this
Man.
time to to heal your heart. If you have to forgive someone else,
Mm.
I know I deal with this. It takes me a little bit of time. And I love what you said. It's actually been something I've been talking to myself about, forgiving yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you could spend all this time forgiving everyone, if you don't forgive yourself for you know what you went through to get to this point, how are you gonna let go of that bag? You're like carrying a
Mm-hmm.
1,000-pound luggage where you're trying to go on a day trip. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna take time, but forgive yourself too. Loose. This is a time to really, and don't feel. I feel like if I could leave off, don't feel so pressure to be like, oh, I got to create the next Microsoft because I'm home now for a month, and I know I take that pressure. I'm like, oh,
Yeah, yeah,
what
that's
am
to
I
you
doing with
too, man.
myself?
Like, it's like you gotta make sure, give yourself the space to experience everything we're going through collectively at the moment, but also give yourself the space to experience what you're going through at this moment, because this ain't normal. This is a like once in a lifetime. Like, bro, we literally been told to stay in the house. Like the
Exactly.
entire state and the entire country, like, hey, yo, bro, you gotta stay home. And it's like, wait, what? Huh? They what? So
Exactly.
just, yeah. So I just wanted to add that on, but like continue, my friend, about like that pressure.
Yeah, yeah. Just forgive yourself. Accept the change. Uh, if you don't know Ja already, if you're listening to the show, I hope let people know where they could find you, because
Oh, I forgot to do all of that. Damn.
you drop gems. Yeah, Ja's he's one of my best friends out here, and definitely connect with him if you're unfamiliar with him, and you're this is the first time you're learning about him. Where can people find you and
Forgot
stay
this was
connected to your
a whole
journey?
show. I realized I didn't introduce myself or nothing.
No worries.
So, thank you, Dave, for the intro. My name is Jati Long. I do a lot. I can't say I do events right now because, like, yeah, it's gonna be a while for that. But visual artist, musician, and very active inside of the Staten Island community when it comes to arts and cultures. I work for the Staten Island Arts Council and love creatives. You can follow me at Jatseek Long for my art page and at Mike Diverse for my music page, MikeDieXverse. But also, I just released a single. Well, actually, it's not really a single. It's really just like a demo on my SoundCloud
Cool.
ukulele song. Yeah, Mr. Weatherman. Yeah, I've been playing it for a long time. I was gonna record it professionally. I planned on recording it professionally. I still do, but I wanted to have that done by like this time of year, and like I'm decided that like to create. I have some songs that like I want to put out, and I'm just gonna put out demo versions, and like then I'll put on Spotify the polished version when I get it in the studio and whatnot, just to kind of like get some stuff out there and um not just releasing content. As Gary Vee says, release the content. You gotta let it out because sometimes, like, bro, I have so much photos and whatnot that's literally sitting on my hard drive that's just sitting there, and it's just like, yeah, man, I didn't upload anything today, and it's like, bro, why? Like, like just
Yeah.
upload it, be like, So it's like, that's why I released the song. Long story short, follow your boy and holla at me, and I hope that thank you, Dave, for having me. And I hope that
Of course,
anyone who's
man.
listening, if anything resonated, like take that and hold it, keep your faith, stay strong, stay healthy. And if you're not into, for anyone like, who's not into it, um, speak to your higher power, whoever that may be. Like the power of prayer is real, the power of spirit's real. Regardless of what you may believe in, when you're speaking to spirit, there's a spirit within you that's also hearing those words, and that can shift you. And there's been sometimes people pull through the craziest situations by having the hope the size of a great mustard seed and faith put you through that. So one thing I want to say to a lot of people, like before we go, is like hold that mustard seed. Keep as long as it's the size of a mustard seed, nothing smaller, because a mustard seed still can grow. Hold your faith. Hold your faith. Whatever that everything's gonna be all right, and be in the vibration of love. Like it's easy to be scared right now, but don't let people scare you. Don't let this whole thing scare you. Call the people that make you feel connected. Call the people that give you hope. And just be grateful every day because gratitude also makes the heart lighter. You know.
Bro, I love it, and I really appreciate you, sharing your words, and I'm really excited for the world to learn more about you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you grow a lot. Just in a year, I've seen so much growth, and it actually
In a
reminds me of a.
year. Like, I've known you for so long, bro.
I know. I'm just saying the last year alone from doing our.
Oh yeah.
So I actually have a Bible verse that
Mm-hmm.
I've been that's been hitting hard today. It's Romans 12:2. It says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Mm.
Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." So if you're out there, listen to what my homie Josh said about keeping the faith. If you guys have a positive message, I'm inviting you to take part of our Pass the Light project. All you have to do is call my voicemail. It's 848-863 9973 and leave a positive voicemail. And I will be sharing it all over social media and with people out there from all over the world, uh, looking for hope, looking for that mustard seed to spread. And if you have that mustard seed, spread it with us so we could pass it around and keep passing the light. So make sure to call me. And once again, the number 848-863-9973. I'm going to be playing some of those messages in just a little bit. Make sure to keep it locked. We have a freestyle by Ty Flows. We have a closing prayer by Joseph Figueroa. And we also have a DJ set by Kane Marco. So make sure to keep it locked. Jatik, you're appreciated, my brother. Always love.
Always love. Appreciate you, fam.
Have a lovely evening, brother.
Likewise. Peace out, man.
Peace, bro.